morning.
Good morning.
The one thing I've noticed as I get older, it's harder to read. So excuse me if there's pages flying in the air. So I would like to talk to you today about the symbol of spiritualism and free will. And it is unknown as to who first suggested the sunflower as a suitable emblem. But with Marilyn in the audience, she may be actually able to tell us who decided that one. However, I'm sorry, I lost myself because I went off already. So anyhow, the symbol of spiritualism was part of the Christian era, and we regarded it as a symbol of truth and loyalty. And since the days of mythological fables, the sunflower has been a favorite emblem for loyalty. From the sunflower, the bright color yellow also became among the ancients a symbol for truth and constancy. For this very reason, was adopted by the women's reformer in 1848 for the women's right to vote. And let's honor that and go out and vote. So the sunflower has been the emblem of spiritualism since 1892. And the spiritualists at the Cassadaga Lake Free Association, which is the namesake for Cassadaga here in Florida, where I'm the associate pastor, but it was also the original name of Lilydale, so that makes it, that's where our connection comes in. And it was adopted, the sunflower, as a seal and shown in its constitution and its bylaws by 1892. Also, Marilyn had mentioned a little bit earlier about the convention. I believe that they have these beautiful metal sunflower pins, at least I've seen them of old, and they're just so breathtaking, quite frankly. I always wanted to wear one at the conventions. Are they actually worn at the conventions?
Those who have one, yes.
Oh, they are? Yes. They're just gorgeous. And in 1928, the sunflower was adopted as official badge of the International Spiritualism and the Conference for the International Federation of Spiritualism, excuse me. The sunflower is a symbol of the religion of spiritualism, and the sunflower was chosen as a symbol for many reasons, partly because it's bright and strong, and the seeds are nurturing, and mainly because it turns towards the sun, as the motto of spiritualism says. As the sunflower turns its face towards the light of the sun, so spiritualism turns its face of humanity towards the light of the sun. An interesting thing about the sunflower is that when the plant is young and growing, it rotates from east to west, following the sun over the course of the day. And this is called heliotropism, the sun turning. Once the plant are mature, the movement stops and the mature flower no longer turns its head. So basically, in my thought process, that's all just part of what we're here doing in spiritualism. We're learning to turn our face towards the light of the truth and the sun. And if you've ever seen the symbol for the Spiritualist National Union, they have a book, and on their book it says light, nature, and truth. And it was just one of the, because I saw the parallels between our sunflower and their logo of light, nature, and truth, because they're all exactly the same thing, quite frankly. So this is a perfect and lovely time for us all to take that lovely free will and free choice and go out and choose to place your vote in whichever direction you wanted to. Unfortunately, we're seeing some very scary things going on in America lately, and it's just your right, your choice to go out there and do whatever you feel is the right thing for you. So I believe that we need to believe that we have a freedom of choice. It's been proven scientifically that we actually do not have free will. And the explanation is that the neurons in your brain snap seconds before your arm moves. But I don't think that any of us can really function in a life in a place where we thought our thought processes were not of value and were not important. And also the fact that we have free choice and our ability to do whatever it is that we feel that's right for us. You can argue about whether or not your karma or your destiny is predetermined, but I think it's a little bit more like destiny is a location, and we arrive there by our choices. So you can zig and you zag, as opposed to perfectly there, right? And the other thing I don't like about the concept of not believing that we don't have free will are there are many people who would then choose to believe, well, maybe if nobody sees what I do wrong, then it's okay to do wrong, right? As opposed to, no, I need to be on the right track because of my own personal desires and destination. I think there are many people that would continue to do the right thing, but there are also people that would choose not to do the right thing. Which is the same thing with our spiritualism. You choose to make yourself happy, or you choose to live in a place of unhappiness. And you also have free will to work on that. It's not a universal fault, which takes you back to the concept of nurture versus nature. So are we of the place where we are brought into the world with a set destination and a set personality type and a set entire social situation, or are we then affected by our situation, meaning how we're raised and our families and all those personal decisions that come along the way. And in reality, when it comes to your choice of religion, a lot of us are born into religions other than spiritualism, and I always say it's basically in my mind because we don't have basketball teams, right? You know, the kids need to be supported, and the kids need to be going to places that has the social activity, and you're not going to receive that in a spiritualist organization because it just doesn't have the financing and the framework in order to accomplish that. But you will receive an opportunity to say that you have the ability to go out and learn, train, teach yourself, and come to an understanding that works best for you, and nobody pushes you to arrive at said destination by a certain time or in a certain way. When you join the religion of spiritualism, no one asks you to remove yourself or your knowledge or your understanding of what you came to the religion of spiritualism with, your religion of origin. You're just simply allowed to develop, mature, and hopefully read or open up your eyesight and start to perceive life in a different way, where you understand that the truth of the golden rule and the truth of your own happiness and the sides of the laws of cause and effect. How your every action has direct consequences. Now, whether or not it's immediately can be determined by what the situation is, but your every action and thought and what you put out into the universe is coming back to you in one way, shape, form, or the other. And so it is okay to say to yourself, gee, it's time for me to think about how I'm putting my energy out there and allow yourself to move. The one thing I always say I've learned more than anything else since I've joined the religion of spiritualism is the fine act of not speaking. Just being quiet, being peaceful, listening to the other person's situation and saying, uh-huh. There is no glorious need for your opinion to be shared at every turn, is what I mean. So it gives you an opportunity to allow yourself to put in that break, to put in that space, and see how exactly you want to perceive with the information that you've received. Allow it to be processed through you in a positive way. So when it comes down to what we do here with our religion and our free will and our free choice, all the scientific information since about the 1980s has been telling us we don't actually have free will. So I would just ask you to please change that verbiage to perhaps we don't have free will as we understand it, but we still have freedom of choice. We can still choose on a regular basis where we want to go and where we'd like to help ourselves arrive. So with the law of cause and effect, nothing happens by chance or outside of the universal laws. Every action has a reaction or consequences. We reap what we sow. Ralph Waldo Emerson. And the law of cause and effects is the law of laws. Marilyn is also an expert on the natural laws, but I believe it's basically the primary. I feel kind of like in front of the school teacher. She might correct me and be very right. But it is the main law. Under my understanding, all things go back to that. Even the law of attraction will take you back to the law of cause and effect. And of course, all the other laws have their place. But what you choose is constantly going to be what your outcome is. The only one thing about this that I do not disagree with in some ways is, if you're familiar with the work of Louise Hay, people often say we think ourselves into disease. This has become a commonly accepted thought process. And I think that you participate in that by your actions, but there is still a stuff happens factor, if you understand what I mean. So, by example, I have a niece, and she's a beautiful girl. She's 13 years old, and she was born with so many deformities I can't even begin to tell you. Her disease is called ortho, 15 letters after that. And I always think to myself, when they talk about how people have decided to be in a state of illness, that did she choose that? Did her family choose that? Did her parents, choose that? The answer is no. So there has to be a factor of stuff happens. And I think that we need to remind ourselves of that, because there is a bit of where people choose to believe that your personal participation in your illness may create a scenario where it's easiest for them to believe, to keep space between you and them, because they don't want to catch your attitude, which causes disease. And so I believe if we understand that there is a stuff happens factor, we can all open our hearts up to the fact that it's perfectly fine. It's not their fault, is my point. They didn't totally create it. And so therefore, when somebody has that big C word, don't run away from them. Don't think that, gee, you can't spend social time with somebody, or a little space is better for you. No, remind yourself to keep yourself heart and open, because what happened to that person could have happened to you just as clearly and easily without your, I'm going to say, knowing consent. How's that? But we always go back to the law of cause and effect. And if you want to look at the law from a philosophical point of view, every cause and effect has a worldly purpose to what we are experiencing today. So in our public environment, the outcomes that are going on, which are getting a little bit more horrific, are cause and effect. And so I'm going to ask, and this actually came from a lovely post that Marilyn did, let's spend 5 minutes a day just thinking about recharging the universe with adding some positive energy to it, being in a state of healing and prayer. And there was once a healing modality where they had a map of the United States, and they were sending positive energy to the map of the United States. And at the time that I saw that someone would do this, it had to do with trying to keep the storms away from certain states, if that's possible. But I think it's a lovely idea to think about having a map, and energetically just taking your lovely, powerful hands and think about sending it to all the world. A globe would be lovely. That's bigger and better. But let's start with America and just consider that. And if you don't have a map and you don't have a globe, just do the visualization of sitting peacefully with yourself and thinking about, let's shoot that positive energy to a direct purpose of helping us to feel the sense of healing, because we are in a state and a place where we very much do need to heal ourselves, and we do need to heal our nation and our global affairs. So this was something else I found on Facebook relatively recently. Reverend Louis Gates, our pastor, posted this prayer, and he loves to collect the antique books, and I can't find this book to save my life, because my initial reaction was, oh Lord, I want this book too. But this is called the Sunflower Prayer. The sunflower is the emblem of spiritualist way, because it faces towards the light every hour of the day. Because its heart is pure as gold, its petals golden too. O angel guides help us to be like sunflowers to view. The sunflower is the emblem of spiritualist light, bright and strong and hardy, growing day and night. It never stoops for circumstance, but facing the sun always reaches upward until its life is done. Each petal has a meaning. There is freedom, peace and joy, and vigor, harmony, and love, which nothing can destroy. The seed is scattered, prove of food, a blessing over the land. If all would be like a sunflower, earth life would soon be grand. The sunflower is our emblem, Oh, help us, angel guides, to follow its example in life, whatever betides us. It be, we cannot see the sun, help us face the brightest spot, and show our hearts are pure gold, wherever set our lot. And that's from a book called The Prayer Book of Pure Spiritualism. The sunflower itself is very interesting in the fact that it has 52 petals and 300, each sunflower has 52 petals and 365 seeds. My immediate question was, who counted those seeds? And do each and every one have 365? Or, yeah, I like that. Representing our calendars of the week and the days. And each stalk usually has 7 leaves, as our week has 7 days. And each stalk usually has 3 flowers representing the Blessed Trinity. I personally like the old one, which is Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And each plant grows to be 6 feet the height of man, which is not the height of this woman. So basically, as I wrote my lecture, events were changing in my mind about my perception about how we should be handling ourselves, and how there is such a great need for us to all become united. And it's not about a matter of agreeing or not agreeing. I think it's more a matter of just sending out powerful, positive energy and let it be absorbed for the highest and the best of all of us, including the world. And with extreme events occurring in church locations and places of worship, that's also another consideration. You know, we fought long and hard for our spiritual freedoms and our freedoms to practice our religion. And I have to say thank you all for coming out here and choosing to practice your religion of belief. And please remind yourself to constantly send that loving, positive energy outward. So I just wanted to give this example of the sunflower and the law of cause and effect. So you have a lovely seed. It could be any seed. So if you've planted, roses don't have seeds, but if you planted a rose seed, you would get a rose bush. And if we plant a sunflower seed, we're going to get a sunflower seed. So in that meaning, I want you to think about the energy. You send out that positive energy, you're going to get that positive energy. You send out different energies. And I think it's all very human to say to ourselves, you know, I'm trying to send out positive energy. I'm trying to connect to that on a regular basis. Because there are little moments I have that little person on my head, you know, and it's okay. Just acknowledge them and say, okay, be in your place, and now we're going to go back to that positive note, you know, because otherwise you think that you're failing. And if you choose to believe that you're failing, then you'll choose to believe you don't need to do it, right? Because it becomes like, no, that's a little bit more work than I was signing up for. So if you allow yourself to honestly view the little person on your shoulder and thank them very much for their coming and move along and get back to the point, I think that's a very helpful thing. So we take these seeds, we dig a little hole in the lovely nourished ground, we put them in, and then they struggle and push and they push and they struggle and they pop through earth and now they're sprouting. And as they're sprouting, unless somebody comes and steps on them, or as my husband does to some things, weed whack them away. Then you have to let it start again. Although it does sometimes help plants to chop them down to nothing and start again, right? So as it's pushing and pushing and pushing its way up in the stalk and the cells and everything's multiplying and it's growing, it's getting stronger and stronger. And as I said earlier, that sunflower is seeking the sun. It's just turning and turning and trying to get the most nourishment from the sun until it gets mature. And then it makes a choice and a decision and stays with that thought process. And then nature continues. You know, if I have disease, the plant dies, you'll see your sunflower. And my husband had planted some beautiful sunflowers at our house in Casadega, and everybody wanted some seeds. I'm like, go for it, you know. And they were just gorgeous. They were actually black. They were big, and they were massive, and they were very dark instead of your typical ones. But the law of cause and effect tells us that, which we do that, which we focus on that, which we create that, what we bring to us is what we're going to sow. And so you're going to get your beautiful flowers, and they'll be your seasonal delight for you and your families. And with that, I'm going to say thank you so very much for having me speak here today. Thank you.